Hello, dear friends. Whoa, what a fucking day, right? Am I right? Is it not nuts? So, apologies for my delay. I had 87 windows open on my computer because so much is happening and I want to be able to bring you everything up to date as it goes down. But my God, if you drink, grab your cup. If you smoke, grab your lighter. If you do neither, grab a pet or grab a plant because we need to get into the hot shit that is the Titanic of America that we are all currently sailing on. Damnation. Wow. It is only Tuesday, I think. Let's let's get into it, shall we? I'm 100% sure it's Tuesday. But it feels like January 125th. Um, y'all, before I even get started, let's just take a collective deep inhale, shall we? And exhale and just let's ground ourselves in the space together. Inhale and exhale. Okay. So, Donald Trump announces what today? The big fucking freeze, which is sending the country into an absolute tailspin, which is the point. And by the way, where are Republicans right now? Oh, they've all paid money to go down, or probably using our tax dollar money to be down at Donald Trump's Trump Doral Resort in Miami for their party retreat. So while they're at their party retreat, you're probably wondering where Democrats are, and I'm wondering the same goddamn thing. Nonetheless, um, let's get into what this regime has been up to today. So, folks, here we are. Donald Trump's regime issues a memo to halt federal funds, which triggers confusion and constitutional questions. Well, but of course it does, because everything that Donald Trump is doing right now, from the firing of inspectors general to the halting of federal programs, to questioning people's compliance and allegiance to him. I believe that it is illegal when you're hiring somebody to ask them who they voted for, what religion they are, whether they're pregnant, et cetera, et cetera. But now this regime is asking people when they had their MAGA revelation. Oh, I had my MAGA revelation back in fucking 2016 when I said that they were a bunch of cult-like crackpots. That was my MAGA revelation. But apparently, if you were to tell the truth right now, you wouldn't get hired. Not to mention that you have whole departments like the diversity education, equity and inclusion, DEI folks are being put on leave. You have folks that are now like, well, wait a minute, I voted for Donald Trump, but I'm a federal employee, and now what? They're going to stop my paycheck. I just wish that none of us who knew, right, like all of you, needed to be a part of the find out of the fuck around, right? Like, we knew. We've been talking about this for years. I've been talking about Project 2025 and the implications of Project 2025 before mainstream corporate media knew what the fuck it was. But because I don't have millions of followers and millions of viewers, then nobody was listening to me But now all of a sudden, folks are like hip to where things are, talking about, oh, I had no idea. You even have some fucking Democrats saying that, oh, give us some time. This is all happening so quickly. Give you some time. You've had 9 years. Donald Trump may be a liar. He is a whole lot of things. But there is not one lie that he has told about his allegiance to white supremacy. Because when he was given the opportunity to denounce white supremacy, he told the people that he just pardoned to stand back and stand by, and they fucking did. Now he wants to meet with them in the Oval Office so that he can what? Deputize them to be his own private militia. Because, you know, all the strong men around the world have them. So now he wants one too. And wouldn't you swear your allegiance to Donald Trump if, in fact, he just got you off of a 22 or 23-year federal sentence for defecating in the halls of Congress and beating the shit out of police officers? Well, now you owe him, right? So that's why he wants to meet with them. So, folks, I'm moving quickly today because the anger that I have needs to come out. Because if it doesn't, I may have a heart attack. And I don't want to have a heart attack. I don't even want wrinkles. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I'm getting gray hairs and I don't like them. Okay? Because right now they're not showing my wisdom. They are showing my level of stress that I'm trying to decrease at the moment. Because we need not to be in a frenzy, but we need to be taking logical steps and creating a strategy about how we are going to move forward. Because this shitstorm is just getting started. Do you believe that we are only but 8 days into this? 8 days. 8 days. So yesterday I posted up on my social, on a post here on YouTube. I posted because folks asked me when I said yesterday on the Danielle Moodie show that Hitler was able to dismantle democracy in 53 days. And folks said, where are you getting this number? 53 days, 53 days. And I said, well, let me pull up the Atlantic article, which is now up on my YouTube page under posts, so you can see. And I hope that you're able to get it for free. And if you're not, use one of those link jumpers to be able to access the piece. But it goes through all of the things that Hitler did from day one when he was duly elected, right, to be the chancellor of Germany. What happened with all of the industries, what happened with parliament. And I'm just like, you know who else read Hitler's 53-day plan? This regime. They read it, right? Because they are moving at a pace that the first administration didn't move, right? Because they didn't know what the fuck they were doing. They have had 4 years, folks, to gather their thoughts, to get them down on paper, to gather their people, to have their allegiancy pacts and their oaths put together, to have their folks readily available to take control as they began to fire career federal workers one by one. Then they can just roll in, right? The Trumpers, one right after the other, right after the other. So for all of the people who kept saying that, oh, well, we got through, right, the first 4 years, so we will be fine. I have been saying Donald Trump knows where everything is this time around. He's not fumbling around in the dark, folks. He knows exactly where the doors lead and who are the blockades to the things that he wants access to. That's why he's moving at the pace that he is, because Project 2025, the Heritage Foundation, put together a 900-page manifesto. And that's just what was public, because what wasn't public, right, and what wasn't leaked was how they were planning to operationalize everything in less than 100 days. So here we are, 8 days in, and you have some Democrats saying what exactly about needing to give them time? Time is not our friend anymore. We are out of time. You should have been thinking about a plan. Oh, I don't know. When Donald Trump announced that he was going to be running for office again, and then you thought that Joe Biden was going to be able to make it through to a second term and win. And when you realized that he wasn't going to be able to do that, instead of publicly berating and putting all his laundry out into the public, you might have wanted to pull your shit together and put together an emergency plan in the Situation Room when we were still running things over there, but nobody did that. So here we are. We're here where federal agencies, states, and other organizations that receive money from the federal government are scrambling to understand the details of a new Trump administration memo that appears, it does, halt federal funding and grant programs. The impact of the short memo released Monday is causing widespread confusion. But here's where folks need to not be confused. So you may say to yourself, well, I don't receive anything from the federal government, so I will be fine. No, you won't. For those of you who have kids in high school that are getting ready to apply for those FAFSA grants, they're not getting any. They're not going to get any federal aids or Pell grants or anything like that to go to college. So unless you're coming off of the 50,000, 60,000, 70,000 or whatever, tuition is, you're coming out of pocket for all of that, or you're going to get a private loan at a higher interest rate from your bank. You are potentially, I don't know, Head Start, Medicaid, housing, Section 8, any of those programs, food programs, lunch programs for kids, where I watched a Republican today say that, why are we giving free lunch to kids? Kids in high school, they should go out and work and know the value of work. I'm sorry, what? He said that on CNN. Their goal is not to help a goddamn person but themselves. There are so many people that are going to be in jeopardy. And I just want folks to understand for a second right now that this is the trickle down, not the trickle down economics that has been spread as a lie for the last 40 years under Reaganomics. The trickle down is the shit that rolls downhill. You see, nothing is going to happen to the 1% and the 2% of people in this country who are uber wealthy and they're already building their fucking bunkers or their spaceships to take them to go colonize the fucking moon. They're going to be fine. But when there are no federal assistance programs and people are kicked out onto the streets, and then landlords start to price gouge the rent, and you know that middle class people in these United States are just one good check away from being in poverty, right? So now your employers are going to be able to crunch you because they know that, well, Donald Trump is creating a purposeful situation of chaos and desperation, which will breed what? Crime and increase violence. So if folks are saying, well, this isn't going to come to me, oh, baby, it's coming to your front door. It's coming to everybody's front door. And this is where we are. Why? Because 10 million Americans decided to stay home and not vote. And then 70 some odd million decided that Donald Trump was going to be their guy because they thought that he was going to deport the people that they didn't like. Didn't realize that, one of those people were their neighbor or their cousin or whomever, the cook, the nanny, the people that actually make this country go round. Yeah, that's what the real trickle down is. It's the shit actually rolling downhill, and they're not even pretending to tell you that it's raining. They're literally pissing in our faces. And we're wondering who's coming to save us or who has a raincoat. No one. Here's the other thing. So there are court challenges, thank God, for nonprofits. A group of nonprofit organizations has already filed a legal challenge to the order. The National Council of Nonprofits, American Public Health Association, Mainstream Alliance, and SAGE filed the suit in district court in Washington, D.C., asking the court to block the funding freeze from going into effect. And by the way, it goes into effect, ding, 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 right now, right? 5 p.m. Tuesday. So, things that all of a sudden are no longer working. Let me take a sip of my coffee, which I wish was bourbon, but is not. Medicaid blocked. The online system through which state Medicaid departments receive federal funding stopped working on Tuesday morning. According to state officials who use it, the system's website warned of delays because of executive orders regarding potentially unallowable grant programs. Senator Ron Wyden, Democrat of Oregon, said Tuesday that his Medicaid staff confirmed reports that Medicaid portals are down in all 50 states. So if you are, I don't know, folks, in the fucking hospital right now, if you're on the way to the doctor, if you are a doctor or a health administrator that is trying to, go into the system and ensure that the person that you're seeing has coverage or gets coverage or that you get coverage, none of that is happening. They think that this is a fucking game. This is people's lives. And by the way, again, we think that this was some type of fucking economic glitch right now. This is some type of tech glitch. It is not. So they had already put into place that action was going to take place at 5 p.m. today, but the website went down this morning. The very thing that they told you that they weren't going to cut. Remember when Joe Biden did his State of the Union and he said that the Republicans were going to get rid of Medicaid, that they were going to get rid of Social Security, and they were all like, boo, no, liar. And they were all screaming. Where are they now? Where are they now? Because let me tell you something. The funny thing is that, do you know who receives the most SNAP benefits, the most welfare, the most Medicaid? People in rural states, those big old red states, right? That don't offer their people anything. That's who's going to be hurt, right? So that's where we are there. And so now there are several states that are gathering together to sue Trump to stop the federal grant freeze. Democratic attorneys generals from states including my state, New York, California, Illinois, New Jersey, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts are moving to keep funds flowing to states, governments, and cities. A coalition of state attorney generals plan to file suit on Tuesday afternoon, which they have done, to block an order from the White House Budget Office freeze happening right now. The move was announced by Schumer, the Democratic leader, at a news conference in the Capitol Tuesday morning. I've already named what the states are. So that's where we are there. And then, bump, right before I came on air, boom. A federal judge has called a 4 p.m. conference in the emergency lawsuit brought by the nonprofits that I mentioned earlier to halt President Trump's federal aid freeze. So right now I'm on air with all of you, so I can't be watching the breaking news at this very time. So my friends in the comment section, go on to that godforsaken site X, or hit up on CNN or what have you, and tell me whether or not they have stayed the emergency this action from taking place, because y'all, woo, what a day. So here's the thing. Thank you, Deb. Appreciate you. So, thank you to our moderators who just do the work over here. So the judge has temporarily blocked this from taking place. But do you see, folks? Do you see what they are doing? Do you see the chaos that is ensuing? Do you understand that all of this is happening to keep our heads on a swivel and keep us in a state of panic? Because when you are in a state of panic, when your head is swiveling around like this, or you're frozen with fear, you become easier to control. Your mind is so filled with all of the chaos that they are implementing that you can't think straight. And if you can't think straight, then you can't plan. And if you can't plan, you can't take action. And if you can't take action, then they win. That, dear friends, is the goal. And thank you, moderators, for pulling that up so quickly, and everyone else who literally went in to look for me. So let's see where we are. 8 days in, Trump moved toward pushing openly transgender people out of the military and directed the Pentagon to end diversity programs. He has fired 18 inspectors generals from a number of really important agencies. And what is it that these inspector generals do? Well, they're independent, and they make sure that there are no abuses or fraud or crime that is taking place in these agencies. He got rid of them. Immigration. Well, we know what's been happening there. When Colombia's President Gustavo Petro refused military planes carrying deportees, infuriating Trump, he revealed how heated the question of deportations has become. And what has happened is that, one, Colombia is sending their own planes to get their people because they did not allow for them to come. Why? Into Colombia? Because they were being transported handcuffed like they were criminals, right? And just by the way, somebody brought this up and I thought it was so smart. They said if all of these immigrants and migrants, if they're all just sucking off the teat of America, then why is ICE raiding their places of employment? If they're just a bunch of freeloaders, then wouldn't you just be picking them up in front of 7-Eleven or like in a parking lot somewhere? No, you're going to their places of employment. Do you know what I've always said? If you wanted to actually slow immigration, do something about it, why wouldn't you prosecute the people that are employing them knowing that they are undocumented to begin with? Oh, that's right. Because you're not going to prosecute, right, the white CEOs, the white bosses, right, of these factories and companies and farms. You see, people wouldn't come if there weren't jobs. And how would they know that there are jobs? Because these people, these companies, are allowed to go over the border and say, hey, come on, I'll underpay you and overwork you, but at least you'll be in America, right? So if you actually wanted to stop this from happening, then maybe you would actually go after the administrators, the management, and the C-suite that hires these folks in the first fucking place. But, you know, then you would be going after white men largely. So they're not going to do that. Here we also have on this list, right? Health. Conservative Christian moms believe in homeschooling and distrust food and drug companies. And they also think that RFK Jr. seems to be like a bull in a china shop. One, I could give a shit about conservative Christian moms. Go ahead and homeschool your 87 kids. I think that that is a great idea, right? Don't give them vaccinations and homeschool them. So long as they're not mixing with the general population with whatever types of, you know, non-vaccinated diseases that they're bringing in, that's fine with me. What is not fine is in a public education program, one, telling kids that, oh, I don't know. What is it? That they can't learn about slavery, that they can't learn about women, that they can't learn about anybody else's contributions to these United States except for what? White cis hetero men. I had this dream the other day, folks. Hold on to your hats. Let me tell you the story. I had this thought the other day. And I was like, Danielle, be careful because, what we think has power. What we believe has power. But I had this image of Donald Trump putting out a memorandum. And again, this is like my thought. This is not anything that has happened yet. A memorandum, another executive order that says that he's going to halt the Pledge of Allegiance in schools. And instead, they're going to have to do the MAGA pledge in public schools. And they're going to have to watch a video in the morning of Donald Trump telling them, a message every morning, and that there will no longer be the American flag. They will be pledging allegiance to the MAGA flag. I know. Kyle just said, don't give them any ideas, Danielle. But I'm like, you think that this shit that we're experiencing right now is crazy? It's going to get worse. And I'm just like, and what would stop him? He can go ahead and say, right, to Department of Education, if schools are not implementing, right, the MAGA pledge, or they're not playing my message to young people every single morning, then I'm going to do what? Squeeze out funding for that district, squeeze out funding for that school. If they're not praising Donald Trump every morning and then, and then praying for 3 hours instead of learning anything, then he'll just cut off funding. This is like, I want folks to think about the types of shit that you're like, oh, that could never happen. And then have AI draft an executive order around it, because that's what Donald Trump is using, by the way. They're not actually writing these things. They're having AI write it. When I tell you that, God bless those people who were doing dry January, because I could not. Because this shit is nuts, what is happening. And again, it's not like we didn't know, because it's not as if they hid any of their plans. They literally have been operating in broad daylight. And I said this earlier today on Mary Trump's Nerd Adventures, where I said that I believe that right now America has been shocked into apathy. You know what I mean by that? When people are just so shocked that like any of these things are happening that they just don't know what to do. It's like when you walk out of your house, but you feel like you forgot something. So you're just going around every single room and you can't quite put your finger on what's missing, but you know that you don't have anything. So you're like patting yourself down, and that's what Americans are doing right now. Folks don't know what to do. And there's this scene that somebody told me about, because I couldn't get through but one episode of The Handmaid's Tale. I really could not. I don't have the stomach for that shit. So, but they told me, they said in one of the episodes, as the Constitution, I guess, was being suspended on the show, that people just sat inside their homes staring at their televisions, waiting for direction, waiting for people to like flood out into the streets, waiting for something to happen, and nothing did. Because the people were so terrified and they just couldn't believe what was happening. So they didn't know what to do. And I'm like, this is America right now. That wasn't a fucking show. That wasn't a fiction. That was what is happening right now. I think that today, of all the days, of all the last 9 years, of all of the things that we have heard, that today's announcement of freezing all federal loans, grants, resources. I mean, stopping research on science, pulling out of the WHO, stopping the CDC from sharing information with the public or communicating to anyone, stopping all federal funding, grants that have been going out on HIV that have prevented 25 million deaths and counting have halted today. That today is the day of all the days, I guarantee you, where people are like, oh, fuck. This isn't like the last time. Oh, fuck. They are serious. I think it was Chris Murphy today who said, let's call this what it is. This is a blitzkrieg. They told you that they were going to do this. And so we can say what is illegal over and over and over again, but when they are the law, what is legality? We are one executive order away from segregation. We are one executive order away from telling women that they are no longer welcome in the workplace. We are one executive order away from Jim Crow 2.0. And for everyone who has said, no, this can't happen, folks, let me remind you, slavery was legal. Apartheid was legal. Colonization was legal. The Holocaust was legal. What the fuck just was going down in Gaza was fucking legal. Who do you think is going to intervene on our behalf? Which one of our allies that Trump gave the middle finger to do you think that when he starts popping up with these camps, with these detention centers, in these red states with red state governors that will not allow media in, that will not allow anyone in but Trumpers in, who do you think is going to come? They allowed 6 million Jewish people and dissenters to fucking die before anyone did anything. So when I say to folks that it is time for you to start thinking not just about yourself, but your community and your family and what actions you are getting ready to take, that you need to not be waiting for somebody to tell you what to do because our supposed Democratic Party doesn't even know what the fuck they're doing. And if you are following them, you are going to follow them like sheep off of a cliff. We are the ones that we have been waiting for, plain and fucking simple. And I'm telling you right now, for those that can afford, for those that have the privilege and the means enough, right? You need to start an exit strategy. You need to start creating a plan for your exit from this country. And then figuring out how you can bring your family and your friends along with you for those that are privileged enough. And unfortunately, that is only going to be but a handful of the country. And why do I say that? And people will say, no, I'm going to stand and fight. And I will fight for as long as I can. But you also have to understand, this is just the beginning. And you see no one standing up now, and they hitting one thing after the other, after the other, after the other. You have to start thinking 6 months from now, what does the country look like? 9 months from now, at the end of this year, a year from now, where is America? I thought about this the other day when I was traveling. Executive order, TSA, no fly list. Donald Trump can decide to put anybody on that he wants. Because again, you can tell me, well, there are steps and this, that, and the other thing. What do they care? Everything that is taking place has happened before. It just hasn't happened here. It's happening here now. And I know that folks are shook because people been texting me all day. What do you think? What do we do? And I'm saying to folks, I know that the weight of this is so heavy and the speed at which this is happening feels so quick. But you got to splash water on your face and open your eyes and look around at what is happening. In so many ways, the writing has been on the wall. Now it's in full-blown fucking graffiti, block letters everywhere that you go. So if you are not thinking about yourself, your community, your family, and what to do next, and you're just waiting for somebody to tell you you are going to wake up in that fucking red cloak from The Handmaid's Tale, you are going to wake up and be like, how did they get away with this? Because we let them. Because we didn't take any action. Because we thought that it wasn't our responsibility because we thought somebody else was going to do it. So, folks, as Kyle just said, the time is now. The time is now to have the hard conversations with your friends, with your family, and get really real about what is happening and figure out for yourselves what can be done. If you are unable to think about an exit strategy from this country, then what do you need to do to fortify your homes, to fortify your space, to build community, right? So that you can make sure that you're being taken care of and you're taking care of others. Because what happens when folks lose social safety nets? Where do they go? They go to the streets. And what happens when people are desperate in the streets? I said this earlier. Crime. And what has Donald Trump said about crime? Martial law. He'll shut down the cities. He'll shut down because you're creating the conditions for chaos, which then will allow for you to have the green light to militarize this country in the blink of a fucking eye. I literally am here. I believe am here on this planet to connect the dots, to try and be an educator, to try and offer thought bubbles, those moments, ahas, or oh shit, I didn't think about this. That's my goal. I don't have all of the answers, friends. Trust me. I have a lot of questions, and I have a lot of questions that I want people to start asking themselves and their loved ones. When we wrap here today, after the town hall, I want you all to send text messages to your friends and your family and your colleagues and say, what's the plan? And if they say, I don't know, then you say, let's come up with one together. Because you cannot be caught out. My dolls, my damnation, you cannot be caught out there without one. It's time to get activated. And if the activation is, you know what? They say that you need to have 3 gallons of water, fresh water prepared in the house. They said that you need to have stock up on canned goods because we don't know what food is going to be contaminated and what's not going to be contaminated. They say that you need to have, some cash in the house. What if the cards get disrupted? What if the banks get shut down? What I'm saying to you is the level of preparedness needs to be amped all the way the fuck up. Okay? If there is a massive blackout for whatever reason, what is your rendezvous point with your family and friends? Do you have an actual paper map? I know the fuck I don't. Right? These are things when I say that it is time to get prepared, the time is now. The alarms have been going off, but today is the day when I feel like everyone in this country went, oh shit. We can't just ride this out with Netflix and some cocktails because they are coming for everything. Let's take a collective breath. And okay. All right. What else is happening? So much. Things that I missed last week as I was reeling from the inauguration. This is the Supreme Court, right? The MAGA-fied Supreme Court takes up a case claiming Obamacare promotes homosexual behavior. And you're saying to yourself, Danielle, what? Yeah, let me get into it. The Obama and Biden administrations made it so that HIV prevention drug, PrEP, is required to be covered by all insurers. Republicans, particularly Texas, are suing to have that requirement revoked, claiming it promotes homosexual behavior. So, last week, on Friday, the Supreme Court announced it will take up a case that imperils a core tenet of the Affordable Care Act, preventative care. The tenet requires insurer providers to cover pre-exposure prophylactics, PrEP, medications that greatly reduce HIV transmission, as well as potentially hundreds of other preventative services, among them cancer screenings and heart statins. The case was originally brought by a group of individual and Texas business, Braidwood Management, who sued over the mandates because the company had moral obligations to covering PrEP and the screenings for sexually transmitted diseases and other treatments that they believe promote homosexual behavior. Folks, but what did this big ass paragraph just say? It isn't just about PrEP and HIV prevention. They're going to gut all preventative care. So you know how, for me, most recently, going in, getting mammograms, colonoscopies, all of these preventative screenings that cost what? Thousands of fucking dollars. But our insurance is forced to cover it under Obamacare. And now they're going to take that away. So you will go for your annual screening and they'll say, boop, here's a bill for you. Because the idea, folks, is to make sure that you are undereducated, sick, and broke, which makes you easier to fucking control. So they go for these things under the illusion of, oh, it's only going to hurt the gays, and so I'm not gay or I'm not queer, so I don't give a fuck. This is going to hurt every living human person inside of these United States. Because preventative care is what keeps us all well. You get that mammogram screening, you get that culture. And it says, oh my goodness, there are cancer cells. Oh my goodness, there is this, that, and the other thing. And then guess what? You're able to take action sooner. But if those tests that have been routine are now going to cost tens of thousands of dollars, guess who's not going to get them? Everyone, except for the uber fucking wealthy that are already getting their $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 super CEO exams every year. So do you see? Let's pull back now and look at the bigger picture here. CDC no longer able to warn us of any viruses, any issues, any things that we need to be alerted to. If they tell you, hey, RSV is circulating around, you may want to wear a mask, right? But if I don't know that RSV, the bird flu, and something else is circulating around, guess what? I don't know how to protect myself. If I don't know how to protect myself, I'm more likely to get sick. And now, when I get sick and I'm not able to get screened to ensure that I'm okay, because again, all of that money is coming out of my pocket, then guess what? I could end up dead. The whole point is to create the conditions for our demise. It is to create the conditions so that we are enslaved to the 1%. We'll have to stay locked into horrible jobs because guess what? Workplace protections, that's off their list too. He wrote an executive order about that. No longer have to be protected in the workplace. Guess what's next? They won't even have to insure you, even if you do stay at the job. And if they do, it'll be some crappy insurance. And again, all of these things will come out of your pocket. When I said that they were getting ready to repeal the 20th century, these are all of the advancements that have been made in the 20th century and early 21st century, in the 2010s. They're coming for all of it because the greed of the uber wealthy knows no fucking bounds. So for everything that you see, when you say, oh, well, it doesn't name me specifically, read the fucking fine print because it is everyone. My friend Amara Jones wrote this and said, of all things so far, the shutting down of PrEP worldwide today would be the most catastrophic. It ends access to life-saving HIV prevention drugs to millions across the global south, halting the program that saved 25 million lives. $25 million lives. But they don't care because we're all just cogs in a machine to them. We are replaceable. We are dispensable. We're not people. Donald Trump does not care about America or Americans. None of MAGA does. They could give a fuck about the constituency that got them to this place, and now they're no longer beholden to them because they are rewriting the rules as we speak. We're not just a step behind as a country. We're light years behind because they've been working on this plan for the last 4 decades. It is going to take generations to get America back, if it ever comes back, because haven't seen the worst of it. We're just days in. The next thing on their list is going to be coming for the media, because so long as you have information and access to information, you're a threat to their power. And you're seeing this already happen with things like this.
I wanted to end today's show by thanking all of the wonderful people who work behind the scenes at this network. You may have seen some reports about me and this show. And after giving all of this some careful consideration and weighing an alternative time slot CNN offered me, I've decided to move on. I am grateful to CNN for the nearly 18 years I've spent here doing the news. People often ask me if the highlight of my career at CNN was at the White House covering Donald Trump. Actually, no. That moment came here when I covered former President Barack Obama's trip to Cuba in 2016 and had the chance to question the dictator there, Raul Castro, about the island's political prisoners. As the son of a Cuban refugee, I took home this lesson. It is never a good time to bow down to a tyrant. I've always believed it's the job of the press to hold power to account. I've always tried to do that here at CNN, and I plan on doing all of that in the future. One final message. Don't give in to the lies. Don't give in to the fear. Hold on to the truth and to hope. Even if you have to get out your phone, record that message. I will not give in to the lies. I will not give in to the fear. Post it on your social media so people can hear from you too. I'll have more to say about my plans in the coming days, but until then, I want to thank all of you for tuning in. It has been an honor to be welcomed into your home for all these years. That's the news. Reporting from Washington, I'm Jim Acosta.
CNN has announced the firing of 200 people, cutting their staff down by 7%. That is producers, editors, bookers. At a time when people need the news the most, need the truth the most, they've decided to make cuts and get rid of voices who tell the truth and who stand up for democracy, because they would rather have this.
This salute trutherism is outrageous. This is the most.
Do it right now on TV.
This is the biggest conspiracy
do it right now on TV.
It's crazy.
If you think it's normal, if you think this is a normal way to greet people, do it right now on TV.
Scott,
why won't you?
I want to.
Salute trutherism. That's what he called the reaction to Elon Musk's Nazi salute. It's salute trutherism. He's saying that we're all nuts for believing our eyes. Do you know what else has happened recently following Elon Musk's Nazi salute? One, the Nazis were thrilled. And two, Visa is now starting a partnership with the platform X. So there's no backlash. There's no backlash. If you can do a Nazi salute on national television with the emblem of the president in front of you, and corporations still want to partner with you, if you tell the truth on CNN, you're dismissed. If you're Scott Jennings, you're on the fucking bankroll. This is where we are, folks. This is where we are. And the thing that I will say, but again, before I get into Town Hall Tuesday, so get your questions ready. I'm running long today because there's a lot to cover. Shannon Watts asked this question. Democrats in Congress, what is the plan? Going on Sunday shows and spewing consultant speak isn't going to cut it. 12 Inspector General fired, and there's no sit-in, no filibuster, no direction to voters. And in fact, some of you all are actually voting for Trump's agenda. You know, it's enough to make you just want to throw up your hands and walk away. It's enough to just make you want to weep. And it's okay to weep, because grieving is part of the process of coming to terms with the death of our democracy. But after grieving, you have to figure out what's next. Right now in Germany, the AfD, which is backed by Elon Musk, the Nazi party, is within reach of taking control over Germany. You know what the Germans did this week? They gathered en masse for a mass protest, chanting that hope and resistance will thrive again, linking arms to say that they do not approve of fascism and that they don't want fascism. If we believe we have no power, they win. If we become hopeless and despondent, they win. If we give up and bury our heads in the sand, they win. As Jim Acosta said in his sign-off, we have to hold on to hope and we have to resist. The people still have power. They just have to remember that they do. With that, my dear friends, let's get into Town Hall Tuesday. All right, it is Town Hall Tuesday, which is when you have the opportunity to ask me a question. I ask that you type question in all capitals so that I can actually see it in the chat. And I will do my best to answer it. We're going to go. Ooh, okay. This is a good question. Hello, Dragon Lady. Question: is there a way to start the show early, maybe with a countdown? I want to watch the YouTube ads that start at the beginning to help you a little. Oh, but don't want to miss your start. Such a nice question. Let me figure out if I can do that. So I guess you're saying maybe start like a minute before with like a countdown. I will think about that. That is a really great suggestion. Thank you for that. Okay. What do we do, Edward Morris? What do we do in 2028 to make sure another pro-genocide candidate is not nominated by Democrats? Let me tell you something, Edward. I am not so concerned with 2028 right now because I'm not sure we get there. So I am focused right now on 2025 and what can be done to stop what is going to unfold as a genocide on our own soil here. So 2028, a long ways off to me. And again, these people are in power right now and have the power of their states to mandate elections, to change secretaries of states, to do their worst, and they will. So as was said earlier on the Mary Trump show, we may have an elections, but they may not matter. May just be pageantry. Question: how do we force Democrats to install new leadership? I think it's time to march on those people's homes. I got to be honest with you. You know, marching in itself is not the action. During the civil rights movement, people marched to do the action. And if the action is that we need to be sitting in at people's homes in venues in order to say, we want you out of leadership and we want X person in, but we need to start taking actions that are going to result in us doing more than going to a rally and holding up a sign. It's not enough, right? So we have to think bigger. And I'm wondering if, you know, if we're going to start to be uncomfortable, then all these motherfuckers got to be uncomfortable too, right? If I'm living in chaos and confusion, then and you're not doing anything, then you got to go. Thank you. Question, Sherry. Danielle, will you please ask everyone to call their senators and remind them they have a constitutional duty. Article 1, Section 8. I'm assuming that is C18 that states to promote the progress of science regarding RFK. Look, RFK Jr.'s sister sent a scathing letter to the Senate to say not to approve her brother as the Secretary of HHS because he is unqualified and a fucking predator. Everyone should be picking up their phones to call their senators. I don't care whether you think you have a good senator or not. Absolutely. Tell them to vote. Not one fucking Democrat should be voting for this senator. And if you have voting for RFK Jr., and if you have a Republican senator, bombard them, right? Get all your friends, your family together, nonstop calls. Thank you, Sherry, for that question. Let's see. You all ask me this every week. Will you consider running for U.S. Congress at midterms? No, I will not consider running. I am not a person that belongs in Congress. Why do I say that? One, I'm not going to get elected, folks. I've said a lot of hot shit on television and online. And while that works for Republicans, it doesn't work for Democrats and independents. You're not even allowed to vote during primaries and what have you. So I feel like I am of better service as a teacher, as an educator, as getting messages out to the public than I would be in office with those fools. But I encourage those that want to run, that are invested in running, to do so at all levels. Daniel, this is the question. How long before Trump starts deporting U.S. citizens he doesn't like? I mean, you already saw what happened after Buddy, right? The bishop who spoke on behalf of empathy. We already saw what the Republican reaction was to that, for her asking the president to have empathy with regard to immigrants and LGBTQ plus people. They said that she needed to go. Deport her. She's a U.S. citizen. So how long? Not long. This is the new McCarthyism. Remember learning about the Red Scare, or maybe some of you who may have lived through the Red Scare, the search for communists and dissenters? That's what is going to take place next. And how long? Oh, I don't know. Probably within the first 100 days. Question, Michael. Do you think we will see world leaders actually stand up against this regime? It seems like they fold pretty quickly to his adult tantrums. I mean, they're going to weigh the needs of their country before they care about what happens to us inside of the United States. I mean, you know, the places that we only go to intervene on America's behalf have to do with our own interests, right? And that is usually money. It has nothing to do with the expense of human life or anything like that, because that happens all the time and we don't care. So I don't know. You have some MPs and some people that have stood up and told him to go to hell. But largely the world is our allies, our former allies, are going to need to figure out how to operate without America. And that's like huge, right? So they saw what happened in 2016. And I think that folks, again, thought that things would be better. But I'm like, America is no longer your ally. He would rather do Putin's bidding and Orban's bidding, right, than anyone else. So that's the thing that these people need to think about. Philip, question. Have you heard about the Institute for Social Ecology in Vermont? They're probably a good start for people to find support in building up a resistance. No, I have not, but I encourage folks to take a look at this. And I will take a look at it myself. Margaret, when do we, the resistance, go underground? You know, Margaret, great question. And my assumption is that folks who are very vocal who are outspoken or already on somebody's list. And so that is a personal decision, I think, to make. And what do you mean by underground? Like going off the grid, going offline? I think that those are personal decisions that everybody will have to make. Zach, how might someone go about starting an effort within their local community to create action groups and resource sharing networks? I think simply start. Who are your friends in the community? You can either, go through religious institutions, you can go through non-religious institutions, nonprofit organizations, social justice groups. But again, you just start, right? Creating a call, put it up on your social media platform. Hey, I'm gathering some people in my garage, in my backyard, in my apartment lobby building, of the building, to talk about how we exchange resources and how we get on the same page. You have one person take notes, recording. You have another person that will get back to folks. You have some resource areas that you can provide to people, whether it be legal, whether it be how to prepare go bags, think about what it is that you would like to do, but just start. Start by putting out a call and seeing who will show up. Sylvia, if Trump were to become ill and could not rule, would the agenda slow down or end? No, he has a vice president that is absolutely corrupt and was put there because he's young and impressionable and owned by Peter Thiel. Let's see. Let's see. Thank you. Question. So I've asked this. When are the Democrats going to check all the swing states for election fraud? Here's what I said the other day on the show, and you may not have been watching. But I said, something tells me that even if there were election fraud, and Democrats knew it, that they were never going to do anything about it to preserve the institution. Right? That's all Democrats have been talking about. Preserving the institution. So even if there had been fraud, I don't think Democrats would have done a fucking thing about it. And that's what really gets my blood boiling. Those are just my thoughts. Everybody doesn't have the same. Hi, Paul. Do you have a preference for a Democratic chair? I like Marianne Williamson. She has fresh ideas and is an excellent communicator. She is anti-establishment. Love you, Danielle. Thank you. Do I have preference for a Democratic chair? No, I do not have a preference. My preference is somebody that is actually progressive. My preference is somebody that would run a 50-state strategy. My preference is somebody that would run this as a grassroots like operation. And so Marianne Williamson, nah. I know that some people like her and think that she's anti-establishment. I kind of think that she's a little bit off. But I need somebody that is not a centrist, that is not establishment, and that actually knows how government functions and how to win races. That's what I would be looking for. Gus, what do you think about the Democratic Party collectively saying no to anything the GOP wants to pass while it has the majority in Congress? Is that productive or realistic? I think it's productive as hell. Why would you vote on anything that they want to do? Why would you give them any fucking vote? Particularly in the House, right? Where Mike Johnson has a very slim majority. He can lose, I think, maybe 3 Republican votes, right? So I don't want to hear any Democrats say, oh, I will work with them on issues that they're not working on any fucking thing. They're not about adding to people's lives. They're about subtraction. So subtract yourself from the equation and make their process fucking difficult to get done. Be the stick in the fucking gears, right? Slow the shit down by any means necessary. That is my advice to Democrats. Let's see. I'm going to be wrapping this and taking my last question. Let's see. Question. Pelosi nominated Connolly over AOC. She nominated Dingell over Jasmine Crockett. When will she be called out for surrendering to Trump rather than share power with Latinas and Black women? Look, here's the thing. This has been said. I think that she has been called out a number of times. At least I see people calling her out on social media all the fucking time. But whether the Democrats in the House will call her out, I have not seen anyone do so. Right? The fact is that she has shown by those very picks that she does not want young women of color to be leading anything, right? That she still believes in some magical ladder that these people need to climb, as opposed to the fact that, like, they are the best communicators that we have, and they should be in front of a microphone, creating strategy, telling people, organizing the people, getting people impassioned to actually back the Democratic Party. But that's not what she is doing. And like I, posted from Shannon, I don't know what the fuck they're doing, to be honest. All right, my dear friends, this was a hell of a show. And I want to thank each and every single one of you for showing up, for hanging in there. I mean, we did a very long show today, and you all are still here. So I appreciate that so very much. Here's what I will say. My last thoughts on all of this is that if there is nothing else that you take from today's show, start having conversations with your family and friends about what is the plan. If the plan is we got to stay because we have to stay, then what is our plan to stay safe in this country? If the plan is we need to build an exit strategy and get out of here, then what is the exit strategy and what is the time frame for that strategy? But everybody has got to be taking some type of action. We can no longer stand still. We cannot be deers in headlights, and we cannot be ostriches and pretend that this isn't happening. And for those that still think that I'm being hyperbolic, y'all, if today wasn't enough of an alarm, then you got to wake up. You got to take, the cotton out of your ears and recognize what is happening, because it is happening, right? And what are the best ways for you to be prepared? So as always, thank you so much for all of the donations that come in. As I say, this is independent media, folks, and it doesn't get going without all of your donations. And I appreciate every single dollar, every single cent that comes in, allows me to continue doing the work that I do and that you deserve. I want to thank you to the moderators so much for your energy, for keeping the conversation and the chats going, and for doing research for me today to know where things stood with the freeze. Thank you all. Please, if you have not subscribed to this channel, please like, comment, and subscribe. Share this episode as soon as it goes out. Post it everywhere. But do like, comment, and subscribe. It helps the algorithm, and it helps this channel get into people's algorithm, and we can continue to build. We hit now 12.1 thousand subscribers. Let's get to 13, and let's do it quickly. As always, power to the people, and to all the people power. Get woke, stay sane, and in these extraordinarily dangerous times, my dear friends, please stay safe. I'll see you tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern. Be well.